Hey guys, Max here. Today I'm here to give you a complete masterclass on bidding strategies in Google Ads. I've received many messages requesting this topic in the past, so it is time for me to finally cover it. If you don't know who I am, my name is Max and I run Kraken Digital, where we work with clients to help them acquire thousands of new customers and generate millions in revenue with Google Ads. So without further ado, let's get right into the content. Now, Google Ads bidding strategy masterclass, as I said. What I'm going to do is we have this big tree diagram kind of thing here. I've got every single type of campaign that you are probably running and every kind of scenario you might be in, and it will lead us to ultimately our bidding strategies down the bottom here. So I'm going to walk through all campaign types and give you an idea of what you need to be doing. If you need to find out a bidding strategy for a specific campaign, feel free to skip forward in the video. I'll be doing it in order of search, shopping, PMAX, and then video display demand gen, and running through some more general info at the end. I do recommend you stay until the end because some of these points are very useful and you will have a complete understanding and overview of what bidding strategies you should be choosing in the future. So let's get started with the most fundamental campaign type in Google Ads, search campaigns. Now, search campaigns are the bread and butter of Google Ads, and they are ultimately what makes up probably the vast majority of traffic that comes via paid media on Google. And we have two main types of search campaigns that would be running and would require different kind of bidding strategies: non-branded campaigns and branded campaigns. Now, I've discussed the difference between these types of campaigns in another video, but just put simply, branded campaigns are campaigns that are bidding specifically on your brand name and branded terms and are just looking to convert that traffic that already knows about you. And as such, we need different bidding strategies for those campaigns. Let's get started with our branded bidding strategies. You really only have two options that I recommend working with in branded campaigns, and both of which are a more controllable, less algorithm-driven bidding strategy, right? So first of all, we have manual CPC. This is the absolute bare bones bidding strategy on Google Ads where you control pretty much everything. You control exactly how much you want to bid on each keyword, and you can change that up and down depending on the metrics that you get from your performance. Now, manual CPC is a little bit tricky, can be a little bit more complex to set up, but it gives you the most control in comparison to any other bidding strategy. And the reason why we need this control is because we want to make sure that we're not bidding too much on branded terms. You'll see a lot of campaigns and accounts that have branded campaigns running, which are overbidding for their branded terms because they are using perhaps an automated bidding strategy. When you're using an automated bidding strategy, Google can really push up your CPCs without you having any control over it, and often results in you spending too much on branded terms when you shouldn't be spending much, because ultimately these are people who already know about you, they're ready to convert, they may even convert organically, but you do still want to bring them through Google Ads if you can at a low price. And that's why we want to make sure that we're keeping our bids down, keeping the budgets restricted, and keeping our spend restricted when it comes to branded ads, and we're not spending too much money on branded ads. So that is the best way to do it, through manual CPC. However, if you're not so focused on trying to keep the budget down, if instead you just really want to focus on dominating the search results whenever your brand name is searched, maybe you have a lot of other competitors who are trying to steal your traffic, maybe you're in a competitive industry with similar brand names around, you want to be using something like target impression share. Now, this as a bidding strategy is pretty rare, to be honest. I only really use it for branded. There's not many other use cases for it, but what it does is it lets you set a level of impression share that you want to target. So let's say you set a target impression share of 90%, and that would basically mean that you are trying to be shown for your search term or for your keyword 90% of the time, right? And Google will spend whatever it needs to bid to get you to that level of impression share. It'll also recommend specific budgets you have to spend to get to that level of impression share. But what this allows you to do is allows you to essentially guarantee that you'll be showing up at the top more frequently if you're spending more money and bidding more money and using the right targets. So target impression share is more automated, which is very helpful for people who are new. By the way, if you want to use manual CPC, I have a full guide on my Twitter profile. I will link that in the description for you so you can know exactly how to set up manual CPC. We'll come to that later though. But like I said, target impression share is a bit more automated. and it can be very useful for just dominating those top results. All right, let's move on now to non-branded search campaigns. So these are where you're going to be acquiring majority of your customers if you're in lead gen, and still a decent number of customers probably if you're in ecom. So these are separated by conversion data. So if you have conversion data in your account, by conversion data, honestly, you can probably work with 5 to 10 conversions. In the past, the rules and guides used to be 30 conversions in 30 days. Nowadays, Google's algorithm is getting very advanced. The automated bidding strategies do tend to work well on smaller amounts of conversion data, which is great news for everyone, really. It just means you can transition to those automated bidding strategies earlier without having to rely on manual strategies for a longer amount of time. So if you do have 5 to 10 conversions in the account, here are your options. If you're a lead gen account, you want to be using maximize conversions. 90% of the time on a search campaign, if you have good conversion data, you want to be using automated bidding. Ultimately, it's very hard to make a case that you are going to be better at bidding than a multi-million-dollar machine. Mind you, in some cases, yes, it is helpful in lead gen to go with a more strict approach, but this is just a more general advice for anyone who's sort of in the game and has good data in their account already. And when I say good data, I really do mean a significant amount of data, not just one conversion, not just 2 conversions, at least 5 to 10 per month. But we've already gone through that. For most cases, maximize conversions in lead generation is where you want to go. Now, this is just going to be Google's making an attempt to get you as many conversions as possible with your budget that you've allocated. So very automated, very useful. Often, while I used to really back manual CPC, I just find that in running tests, more and more it's becoming obvious that the automated systems do really perform better with acquisition and often with lead quality as well. So maximize conversions is my preference when it comes to lead gen with account data. Down the line, when you have even more significant data, right? So this is saying when you are sort of reaching that 30 conversions in 30 days threshold, or when you have a very long-term significant amount of data coming through, basically just a lot for Google to work with and very consistent sort of CPAs, right? So you want to have not a huge variation in your CPA week to week. You want to keep relatively similar cost per acquisition. So basically conversion cost, how much it costs for you to get a conversion. And once you start to get very consistent values in CPA, you can start to use a target CPA. This is going to allow you to tweak and push Google's algorithm and say, hey, I want you to go focus on achieving cheaper acquisitions, or say, hey, look, maybe I can give you more money for acquisitions and you can open up a bit more. And that's how TCPA ultimately works. Same with TROAS, we'll get to that in a sec. But you're basically telling Google, hey, if you set a low TCPA, you're saying, hey, I really don't want to spend much on acquiring a client. So what Google's going to do is it's going to go out and try and find the highest intent traffic to minimize your cost per acquisition. But what that does is it lowers your budget and it lowers your room for spend when it's only trying to find that high intent traffic. Whereas if you allow a higher CPA, Google's going to go prospecting for more people and find some sort of more medium, low intent traffic and try to convert them instead. So that's a trade-off that you run with TCPA. Now, conversion data in account, 5 to 10 conversions. As I said, on an e-commerce account, you almost always want to go with maximize conversion value. This is very useful, especially if you have different value in your products. So if you have one product that's worth $20 and one product that's worth $100, you would obviously rather, 90% of the time, get more sales of the $100 product. Now, if you just use maximize conversions, that bidding strategy wouldn't take into account the value generated from the purchases, whereas maximize conversion value takes that into account and it puts more value on the higher value purchases, right? And like I said, after you've got a significant amount of data on maximize conversion value, you'll want to move into maximize conversion value with a TROAS, so a target ROAS. Now, TROAS is opposite but the same as CPA. I'll explain that in a sec. So basically, a high CPA is bad in most cases, whereas a high ROAS is good in most cases. You want a high return on ad spend, right? So in an opposite way to TCPA, if you target a really high ROAS, Google's going to restrict the traffic and search for only high intent users. Whereas if you work with a low TROAS, Google's going to expand the targeting and allow Google to go crazy and try and find anyone prospecting. Both of which have their purposes at specific times. But again, only move into TROAS if you have consistent kind of non-variable ROAS values over at least a few weeks or possibly months period of time. Now, non-branded search campaign with no conversion data. These are early campaigns in the brand new stages of Google Ads account, the ones which are really doing the heavy lifting and bringing in those initial results and that initial data for your account. Now, the way that you need to run these is on a non-conversion based bidding strategy. So the problem is you can't use a conversion based bidding strategy if Google doesn't know what a conversion is. So if you tell Google, hey, I want you to maximize conversions, but it's never seen a conversion in the account, it doesn't know what a conversion looks like, or it's seen very few conversions and it still doesn't really know what a conversion looks like or what a converting customer looks like, you're not going to generate very high quality results, right? Now, that's solely because it's impossible to train an algorithm without any data. So what we need to do is apply a more manual strategy. The easiest way to go about this is just maximize clicks. And it just tells Google, hey, get me as many clicks as possible within this budget. And that is going to bring in a lot of traffic, sort of non-discriminate traffic, just as much traffic as possible. And it's going to start getting you some conversions. And when you do get those conversions, then you can switch over to an automated bidding strategy. Now, the other option is manual CPC. Manual CPC is, like I said before, where you set the bids and you choose specific bids for specific keywords, and you can alter that depending on your performance. Now, the reason you would choose manual CPC over maximize clicks is that sometimes maximize clicks can sort of bid on lower quality traffic without you really knowing. So maximize clicks sometimes just tries to push, as it says in the name, as many clicks as possible, regardless of audience quality. And in that case, you may struggle to get conversions coming through. You may see low quality results. The benefit in manual CPC is that you can choose to bid higher amounts, which is going to drive higher quality traffic, going to put your search results at the very top more often, and just gives you more control over what kind of traffic you bring into the account. Like I said, full guide for manual CPC, I will link it in the description. It is on my Twitter profile and I teach you exactly how to do it. I highly recommend manual CPC for any brand new account on search campaigns, branded campaigns, and shopping campaigns, which we'll move on to right now. So shopping campaigns are pretty straightforward. Obviously, these are only in e-commerce accounts. You can't really run a shopping campaign for lead gen or service-based businesses. So this is all assuming you're running an e-commerce brand. We can see that again, with conversion data in the account, 5 to 10 conversions, as I mentioned, we want to go with maximized conversion value with a TROAS. Now, shopping campaigns force you to set a TROAS. You don't have a choice. And this is good and bad. The solution to this though is if you want to act as if you're just running on maximized conversion value, set a really, really low TROAS. So TROAS of like 10%. And what that's going to do is it's going to completely open up Google's targeting. It's going to say to Google, hey, look, you don't even need to get results on this, but still try. And so what it's going to do is open up and prospect a lot, try and find the right people. And then when you start to get a good ROAS, now, when you set a target ROAS of 10%, it doesn't mean Google's going to go, oh, I got 10%, I'm happy. It's still going to try and achieve a reasonable ROAS, but you're just telling it to allow more spread and more prospecting. So you will likely get a ROAS over 10%. And when you start to get those consistent ROAS of maybe 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3, whatever it may be, then you start to set more reasonable TROASs around that point, slightly above, slightly ambitious perhaps. If you're sitting at a 2 ROAS, you might set a 2.1 target, right? And then so on. And consistently edging up that TROAS and as far as you can without tanking all your spend. That would be how I'd recommend the evolution of that bidding strategy within shopping campaigns. Now, once again, similar to search, if you have no conversion data at all, you need to start off with a non-conversion based bidding strategy. So that's going to be either maximize clicks or manual CPC, both of which have the same benefits as discussed previously. They allow you to set specific bids on manual CPC, while maximize clicks is going to get as many clicks. Usually higher quality traffic in manual CPC, lower quality traffic in maximize clicks. Just keep that in mind. And yeah, that is just about everything for shopping. PMAX, you are limited to only conversion-based automated bidding strategies. So in the case of lead generation, you'd probably want to be working with maximized conversions. So that is once again focusing on getting you as many conversions as possible in the account. Now, PMAX and lead gen sometimes can be a bit of a risky play, just due to the fact that it doesn't always get you high quality traffic, high quality leads. Sometimes there's issues with PMAX in lead gen where it sources lower quality leads coming through. If you're in a lead gen service-based account, I would always recommend going with search campaigns before moving into PMAX or testing PMAX. I believe in testing PMAX for sure, but only once you've already developed some results. Whereas e-commerce, on the other hand, PMAX can work from day one, but once again, I think PMAX really it thrives on data, right? It's a very data reliant, algorithm heavy campaign. So the more data you have in the account from shopping campaigns, search campaigns, branded campaigns, the better PMAX is going to perform. So once again, I do recommend introducing PMAX a little bit further down the track in both types of accounts. But when you do, you'll be using one of these automated bidding strategies. Same reasons as previously for maximize conversions, TCPA, maximize conversion value, and TROAS. There are your guides for PMAX. Now, video, display, and demand gen campaigns. These are all very top of funnel based campaigns in the majority of cases. And they require slightly different bidding strategies, pretty similar to be honest. So once again, if you have conversion data in the account, for lead generation, we want to be working with maximize conversions, and e-commerce, maximize conversion value. I'm actually not sure, I may have just copied that one over, but I believe they actually don't have a maximize conversion value option in some of these campaigns. So whatever your option is, use the one that is closest to max conversion value. If not, just stick with maximize conversions, right? Switch on here, TCPA. So basically, video campaigns, I imagine you're probably using them 90% of the time to try and get more conversions. So getting them to maximize conversions is usually advisable, especially if you have a lot of data in the account, which in most cases you will have a lot of data in the account if you're running video campaigns. Very rare for people to run video campaigns straight out the gate without having any data in the account. So usually just want to be working on a conversion-based bidding strategy for either of these, dependent on what's available to you when you're setting up the campaign. If you have no conversion data and you have to run one of these demand-based campaigns, again, go for a non-conversion based bidding strategy. You have stuff like the CPV and CPM targets. You can work those kind of things and just basically focus on getting views and focus on getting clicks through to the website. And then once you generate some of that data, then moving again to a conversion-based bidding strategy. Although conversion-based bidding on videos seems a bit crazy because it can be really difficult to find the people who convert directly off a video, it is important to keep in mind that the algorithm is incredibly powerful, and it is only getting more powerful as time goes on. And even in video campaigns, Google can find those kind of people who are likely to convert, and it often does get better conversions on these automated strategies. That is just simply what I've seen and what I've heard a lot as well, is that conversion-based bidding strategies are ideal if you have conversion data in the account. If you don't really care about conversions and you just want to build brand awareness, feel free to go for a non-conversion based bidding strategy and just focus on getting views at an achievable cost. That makes complete sense. But in the majority of cases, once again, you want to stick with these kind of strategies. Now, that is all of the major campaign types covered in Google Ads. However, we have some general rules for you to keep in mind when you're picking your bidding strategies, which will help you and save you a lot of time. So generally, as I said before, if you don't have conversions in the account, don't use conversion-based bidding. You're asking a golfer to hit the golf ball in the hole and they don't even know where the hole is. That's like what you're doing, what you're asking Google to do when you're asking them to get a conversion without knowing what a conversion is. So don't do that. Wait until you have conversions and then go into automated bidding, no matter how attractive it may seem. 90% of the time, lead gen will be focusing on maximize conversions bidding strategies, while e-com is focusing on max conversion value. If you do have conversion values input in your lead gen account, if you know what I'm talking about, you'll know that you can set values for certain conversions. And if you value certain conversions more than others, so let's say a lead form is worth more than a phone call, you can use maximize conversion value in that case, because then Google will target those higher value events at a higher frequency. So you can use maximize conversion value for lead gen, but just make sure you know what you're doing. In most cases, max conversions is sufficient. And then also shift to TROAS or TCPA after gathering data with conversion-based bidding. Usually I'd recommend at this point, probably at 30 plus conversions in 30 days is probably a good metric for a low ticket account. If you're running at something with a higher ticket with more infrequent purchases, less frequent purchases, you can use a little bit less data there. But once again, a good metric to go by is just when you have stable and non-variable ROAS TCPA numbers, not changing up and down massively day to day. That's the best time to switch over. And then how to maximize the performance of your bidding strategy. So with these conversion-based bidding strategies, you are going to get massively increased performance by doing specific things. One of which is separating your traffic by campaigns and ad groups. So let's say you have a store that sells fashion. So you sell clothes, right? You might want to separate your traffic by a asset group for t-shirts, an asset group for shorts, an asset group for shoes, or campaigns divided by certain categories. The reason for that is because the more separation and segregation you have, the more straightforward it is for Google to figure out how to target the right people. So typically, the people who might be interested in shoes would be different from the type of people who'd be interested in earrings, right? Or at least men's shoes and earrings, right? Typically very different groups. So in that case, having them separated and allowing Google to develop specific profiles for each campaign, each ad group, is going to assist your conversion-based bidding and assist the algorithm in finding the right people. Another one is feed as much data as possible into the system with branded campaigns. Branded campaigns is one of the options, but there's many options to feed data in. Customer lists is one. Branded campaigns is another big one. I always recommend branded campaigns because it just feeds so much data for your automated campaigns. It really helps. And again, it's really dirt cheap traffic that you're just getting coming through at a very low cost. But yeah, feed as much data as you can in the machine. Give it the best possible chance to find the right customers. And then finally, don't change your bidding strategies frequently. If you're flipping and flopping between bidding strategies every day, every week, you're not going to get any consistent performance. You need to pick something and run with it for a specified amount of time. Let's say, you want to test TROAS for a month, right? You give it a month to run, see how TROAS goes. Maybe it doesn't perform as well as maximized conversion value. Okay, flip it back, right? Make sure to set and test and not get cold feet, right? You need to let the data come in and get verifiable, significant data before making any major changes. So keep that in mind when you're testing your bidding strategies. So that is everything. That is the Google Ads Bidding Strategy Masterclass. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you look at all this and you think, wow, that's a lot to remember, and yes, it sort of is, and if you think it's a little bit overwhelming, feel free to reach out to me or book a call in the description down below. I'm more than happy to help out with your Google Ads. As I said at the beginning, we have generated millions of dollars of revenue for our clients and can probably help you do the same. So if you want to speak to me about Google Ads, please feel free. Otherwise, I will see you in the next video. Thank you.